You ever stop and think about what keeps the entire internet from just collapsing? I mean, every single click, every stream, every search you make sends a request out into the world. So what's stopping that constant flood of data from completely overwhelming the servers that power everything? Well, the answer is a bunch of invisible traffic rules, and today we are diving deep into one of the most important ones, API throttling. And honestly, that analogy just hits the nail on the head. Think of APIs, or application programming interfaces, as the highways that connect all your favorite apps and services. Just like a real highway, if you don't have any speed limits or traffic lights or lanes, you just get total, absolute gridlock. And that's exactly where throttling comes in to save the day. So what does this digital highway actually look like when there are no rules? You know what? Imagine it's a Black Friday sale, and a million people are all trying to shove through a single doorway at the exact same time. It's just pure chaos. And in the digital world, the consequences of that chaos are pretty severe. Yeah, this chaos has real-world effects. First off, servers get totally overwhelmed and just crash. That's your server meltdown. Suddenly, these unrestricted gateways become a huge target for things like DDoS attacks, which opens up massive security holes. And for you and me, the regular users, it just means slow service and constant error messages. And all of this can happen because a few users, whether they're malicious or just a buggy app, can suck up all the resources, effectively locking everyone else out. Okay, so to prevent all that madness, system architects basically have two key traffic cops they can use: rate limiting and throttling. Now, they sound pretty similar, and they often work together, but they actually solve slightly different problems. Let's break down the difference. So rate limiting is basically the bouncer at the club door. It sets a hard, you shall not pass kind of limit. Let's say you're allowed 100 requests every minute. The moment you try to make request number 101, you're not just slowed down, you're blocked. Bam! You get that 429 too many requests error. It's a really strict rule, and it's designed to stop abuse and enforce quotas, kind of like you'd see in a freemium app model. Throttling, on the other hand, is a little different. It's more like a smart traffic light that sees congestion building up and adjusts. So instead of blocking you completely, it just says, whoa there, you're going a little too fast. I'm just going to slow you down a bit. It smooths out those sudden traffic spikes by adding a tiny delay to requests, which lets the server keep up without having to turn people away. So putting them side by side, the difference becomes crystal clear. Rate limiting is all about enforcement. It's a hard block. Throttling is about management. It gradually slows traffic down. And the most important part is how it affects you, the user. Rate limiting hits you with an abrupt error message. Throttling might mean a small delay, but your request is probably still going to get through eventually. So we have these rules in place, but how do all the different applications and servers actually coordinate this whole dance? I mean, how does an app know it's supposed to slow down? And how do servers manage all these limits effectively? And that right there is the key question. If your app just keeps hammering away at a server that's screaming, "Stop!" well, it's just making the problem worse for everyone. A well-behaved or well-designed application needs a smart strategy for backing off gracefully. And the most common and, frankly, most elegant way to do this is something called exponential backoff. Instead of just giving up or retrying immediately, the client waits for a second, then tries again. If it fails again, it doubles that waiting period to 2 seconds. It's a really intelligent way for the client to automatically slow itself down and find a pace that the server can actually handle. And as you can see here, it's a really simple, elegant little dance. The first failure, you wait 1 second. The next one, 2 seconds, then 4, then 8, 16, and so on. This multiplicative slowdown quickly stops the client from just adding to the congestion, which gives the whole system a chance to recover. Now, over on the server side, there's also a bit of flexibility. A hard limit, like we talked about, is a brick wall. No entry. But a soft limit, that's more like a friendly warning. The request actually goes through, but a message gets logged that says, "Hey, just so you know, you're going over the suggested rate." This is super useful for developers, especially when they're testing, because it lets them see potential problems without completely breaking their application. Okay, theory is great and all, but how does this stuff work at a massive, global scale? Well, let's take a look at Netflix, a company that has pretty much mastered the art of managing unbelievable amounts of traffic so that we can all binge watch our favorite shows without a problem. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of Netflix's philosophy. When their system is under a lot of stress, like when a new season of a massive show drops, it doesn't treat every single request as equal. Their number one absolute priority is protecting the core user experience. And that means something's gotta give. So what gives? The non-critical stuff. A request to play my movie? That's sacred. It has to go through, period. But a request to, say, autoplay a trailer while you're browsing? That's way less important. If the system is under strain, Netflix will just drop that trailer request. Your app then has a fallback plan. It just shows the movie poster instead. The core experience is protected, and you probably didn't even notice anything happened. This is a brilliant strategy called load shedding. And the magic behind all this is Netflix's API gateway, a system they built called Zuul. As you can see in this diagram, it's the single front door for all incoming traffic. Zuul is the brain of the whole operation. It analyzes every single request and decides, in a split second, whether to let it pass, slow it down, or just drop it entirely to protect all the other services running in the background. So, to make these incredibly smart decisions, Zuul uses this really sophisticated scoring system. For every single request, it asks 4 key questions. What's its function? How much of a load is it going to create? How critical is it? And is there a fallback plan? And was this request directly started by a user? Based on those answers, every request gets a priority score from 0 to 100, and that score determines its fate when traffic gets heavy. All right, let's zoom out for a second. We've looked at the problem of chaos, we've seen the solutions like rate limiting and throttling, and we've walked through a real-world example from Netflix. So what's the big takeaway here? The most crucial thing to remember is this. These systems aren't just optional, nice-to-have features. In our modern, super interconnected world of global-scale apps, they are the absolute, non-negotiable bedrock of a reliable and resilient system. They're as fundamental as the servers themselves. And this matters to you every single day. These systems make sure one person can't just hog all the resources, which creates a fair experience for everyone. They are a primary line of defense against attacks that could take your favorite services offline. They guarantee stability, and at the end of the day, they create the smooth, predictable, and reliable digital world that we all depend on. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We've seen how these invisible rules manage the internet of today. But as our reliance on these digital highways grows, and as new technologies like AI start creating even crazier traffic patterns, how are these rules going to have to evolve? The way we design these systems, right now and in the future, will fundamentally shape how we access and interact with the digital world of tomorrow.